Alright, so this intro should be short and sweet. I decided to do a PCSL match. This is actually my first PCSL match ever. The club I decided to do it at lets you do rimfire rifles and pistols, as well as, you know, the normal PCSL divisions. So I decided to run this gun as you see it. So I'll go over it real quick. So this is a Kel Tec CP33. Just right through real quick, get these out of the way. These are some 3D printed magazine pouches for the CP33 mags. They work fine, they're nothing special. I imagine these will break eventually, but you know, I can just reprint these. And now for the part that you're actually interested in. So this is my Kel Tec CP33. It's in a wacky state right now because the scope on it is a scope that I am trying to get as familiar with as I possibly can. The scope is the March 1.5 to 15 by 42. So it's, if you're not familiar with my channel, I use this scope on basically every rifle setup that I can. So it'll start at 1.5x and go up to 15, which is way overkill for this gun and this match. But like I said, I'm trying to get familiar with the scope, so that way I can, you know, say more authoritative things about it. And then the rest of the gun, I'm using the Sancerco Switchback 22 in the short configuration for the match, so that way I don't have any issues with timers picking up gunshots or anything like that. Normally I would run it in the full length configuration. This piece here is just a little handguard thing that I printed, designed and printed myself. It'll hold a spare magazine just by friction. There's nothing keeping the magazine in there, so this is definitely not like a serious setup or anything like that. The magazines have the factory Kel Tec 17 round extensions, so these are 50 round magazines. And then the brace adapter is also designed and printed by me, so it just grabs onto the Picatinny rail and it adds a short little buffer tube section there for the brace. It's just one position, it's not really adjustable at all. But yeah, so that's what I used. So we'll go ahead and get to the actual match footage. All right, so this match is really quick. There's only 4 stages, so I'm just gonna let all the stages play back to back, and then I'll talk about them afterwards.
Shooter, are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by.
Oh, come on.
You've got one in the chamber. If you're done, unload and show clear.
Shooter, stand by. To shooter, if you are done, unload, show clear.
Shooter, are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by.
Go figure, last target.
Unload and show clear.
You're looking to see there's nothing in his barrel.
Chamber
now he's going to
flag.
put his chamber flag in. And he's
Of course it's all right.
and call range.
Range is cold. Shooter, are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by. Shooter, you are finished. Unload, show clear.
I should have just domed the no shoot.
Probably. Got it coming. Range is clear. Pace them up. 1961.
Darn. Just barely. I know.
He shouldn't have been standing there, you know?
That's what he gets for being a hostage. All right, so for stage one, the circle targets only required 1 hit. The square targets required 2. This was the first stage of the day, so I had a lot of jitters, which is why I had a lot of misses on this stage. And then the obvious big thing on this stage is I have this malfunction. Now, what actually I believe happened was, so I had a light primer strike, so I opened the gun, and I see that I also had a stuck case, which happens on rimfire guns sometimes, especially if you haven't cleaned your chamber in a while, like I have not. So I had a stuck case in there. So when I try to clear the malfunction, I kind of do things in the wrong order. So I take the mag out, put the mag back in, and when I try to close the bolt, that stuck case is still in there. So I just get a double feed. So I realized what I did. So I have to pull the mag out again, clear the double feed, drop the bolt on that stuck case, and hope that it goes off on the second try. Put the mag back in there, and then finish out the stage. So that is why this stage did not go particularly well. So this stage went fairly well, except for this one malfunction. Now, I'm not exactly sure 100% what happened. I believe on this one, the bolt did not go all the way forward. So when I tried to pull the trigger, it didn't drop the hammer because the bolt was too far back. So what I ended up doing is just racking the bolt. It kicked out that live round, chambered the next round, and luckily that next round chambered fine, and then I just went to town. Okay, so this stage went fine. So one thing is when I run up to this second position, I have these three targets here, and I have to fire 2 extra rounds at the middle target because I was not 100% sure that I got 2 hits on target. I think I had a mic at first, and so I went ahead and just fired 2 extra shots at it. Of course, when I make it back to the first position, the last target, I get a malfunction. Either I got a light primer strike or the bolt did not go forward and I got a light primer strike. So regardless, I got a light primer strike, of course, on the last target, which never any fun. All right, and then last stage of the day, this stage went, as far as the gun went, this is the best stage of the day because I did not have a malfunction with the gun. I did have a slight issue, you'll see right here. When I come back to these targets right here, I did have one thing that happened. So when I come back to basically the starting position to get this one target behind the no-shoot, so I flipped the gun on safety to come back, and then when I get on the gun again to fire at the target, I didn't sweep the safety off because I'm sure I can make plenty of excuses. One of them is that the safety on the CP33 is pretty small and it's not very positive, so it's easy to miss. That's what this little stumble is right here. Is I try to fire and nothing happens, so I had to take the safety off. And then I just barely wing the no-shoot. I'll roll a picture at the end, or I'll roll a picture in here. But yeah, I just barely wing the no-shoot, which stinks. Then on this next target, what happens is as I come up to it, I fire, and I kind of pause because I thought I hit the wall, and which is why I didn't take a second shot right away. And so I kind of back up just that way, make sure I'm not breaking the 180, and then take the last 2 shots and finish off the rest of the stage. All right, so since there's only 4 stages, I'm just going to roll through these scores real quick. Stage 1, I placed 8th out of 22. Stage 2, I placed 5th. Stage 3, I placed 18th. That was definitely the worst stage of the day. And then stage 4, I placed 5th again. Overall, I ended up 9th out of 22, and then I was the only one running a rimfire, so depending on how you look at it, I either placed first or I placed last. The only major penalty of the day was the 1 no-shoot, so that was good. Overall, I had 74 A hits, 6 Charlies, and 1 Delta. pretty good, but again, you know, I'm using a rimfire little carbine thing, so I would expect decent hits. I would be pretty upset with myself if I got a lot of Charlies and Deltas. So overall, this is a pretty fun match. If I had a PCSL match that was more local to me, I'd definitely do this more often. It's a good alternative to USPSA, but I don't know if I'll do this particular match very frequently, just because it's kind of an inconvenient amount of time for me to drive to it. But yeah, as far as the gun setup goes, the CP33, the major issue with it is the magazines. You have to make sure that the magazines are loaded correctly. If you don't load them correctly, you will have malfunctions. And then what ended up happening to me today, I believe, is that the magazines were dirty. So the feed lips will get carboned up, especially if you're running a suppressor like I am. And I believe what is happening is that carbon is causing more friction than it normally has, and so the rounds are not quite making it up all the way into the chamber. And so when you pull the trigger and the hammer falls, it's taking away energy from the hammer to close the bolt the rest of the way, and so it's not hitting hard enough to set off that round. I believe that's what's happening. I'm not sure. I'll have to clean my magazines and try it again. There is another carbine match at the end of the month that's local to me that I can use this exact same setup in. I might do that. I've got a pretty busy month. There should be a few videos coming out in the next few weeks, but if I decide to do that match, I'll use this gun again. I'll clean my magazines, and hopefully I don't have any issues. Other things, I guess I'll talk about the scope real quick. Obviously, this scope is way overkill for this match. It's way overkill for this gun. I want to see if this scope can be used in this environment, right? Because theoretically, this is a scope that you can use for anything from 1 yard to 1,000 yards, and I want to see if that's true. And I think the scope did perfectly fine. So I went ahead and I took the match footage, I edited out the time it took me to clear the malfunctions, and, you know, saw what my times would have been if I did not have those malfunctions. And so if I had not had any malfunctions, I would have placed second in stage 1 and then third on both stage 3 and 4, and then fifth on stage 2. I didn't have any malfunctions on stage 2. I just had a user error. So I'm not going to adjust that one. But if I had not had those malfunctions, I would have placed significantly better. But yeah, I think that goes to show that, you know, this scope is usable at these close distances. So as far as what it's being compared to, I did not see what the other competitors were using. However, looking at practice score, I see that there were two other people. There was two people in pistol caliber carbine and then one guy running a submachine gun. It does feel good that I did place better than the submachine gun guy. The submachine gun guy actually did not place particularly highly. And if I had been competing in pistol caliber carbine, I probably would have placed between the two people using PCCs. So I don't think the scope in these short distance, close quarters environments, I don't think being 1.5 power makes a huge difference. Now, that's just an opinion and it's not fact. So don't roast me in the comments. But yeah, that's all I've got for this match. Like I said, it was real short. If you have comments, questions, leave them below. I'll get around to looking at them and answering them if they need answered. And then I'll see you on the next video.